بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انك انت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني قولي. We are coming to the end of the month of Rajab, and soon will start. And then the blessed month of Ramadan will come upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in the month of Rajab and Sha'ban and make us from those who witness and benefit from the month of Ramadan. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa balighna Ramadan. Now towards the end of Rajab, according to the historians, an amazing incident happened in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now every prophet was given some kind of miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some miracles were demanded by the people, and the prophet of the time asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided the miracle. When Shu'aib alayhi salam, his people asked for a camel to be born out of a rock. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Salih alayhi salam, demanded a camel, a pregnant camel, come out of a rock and give birth. So Salih alayhi salam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them that miracle. But the conditions attached to it that the people have to fulfill, but yet they did not fulfill. And the reason for the people asking for the miracles is for them to convince that this person is truly a messenger of Allah and Allah is all powerful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted miracles to Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, and some of them were because the people demanded the miracles from the prophets. And there were some miracles which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam himself. It was a means of supporting the messengers to prove their prophethood, to prove the mightiness and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was supported by the greatest ever miracle and the most everlasting miracle, which is the Quran. The everlasting miracle, the miraculous book, which each and every letter is miraculous, and it is written in the best of languages. That even the Arabs of the time, whenever they would listen to the Quran, or they would hear any Sahaba reciting the Quran, or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would read the Quran to them, they would become overawed by it, and they would be compelled to accept Islam. That Umar radiallahu anhu, when he heard the verses, Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Quran tashqa illa tadhkiratan liman yakhsha, always the whole page. And as the verses were being recited, Iman was entering the heart of Umar radiallahu anhu. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was granted many other miracles. And one of the greatest miracles which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this came after a period which was a very difficult time for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was so difficult that that period was called Yawmul Huzn, that the period and the year of sadness, the year of grief. Because in that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam lost his wife Khadija radiallahu anha, who was the one who supported Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from the initial moment. From the first moment when revelation came in the cave of Hira, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ran home and said, Zambiyudi, Zambiyudi. From that time, she was a vital support to the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she sacrificed everything for his sake. Each and every penny she had earned, she sacrificed for the sake of the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then his beloved uncle Abu Talib passed away. And at his deathbed, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is trying to convince him to read the kalima, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. But he died is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was not meant to, and he passes away. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is grieved by his passing away as well, because he was a vital support for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the Quraysh who wanted to attack and kill and harm Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when he passes away, it's heard from one of the people who say that now it is open season, and he says it jibes and mocks Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and says, "Your uncle is dead. Now who is going to protect you?" So Abu Talib, he passes away, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the verse of the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then reveals the verse to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You cannot grant guidance to whoever you love, but rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants guidance to whomever He wishes. To console Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam faces a lot of hostility from the Quraysh, the people of Makkah, and he goes to Taif. And in Taif, they are second biggest tribe after the Quraysh. And he goes hoping they're going to support the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but instead they pelt him and throw rubbish at him and stones until he bleeds, and his feet his sandals are clogged with blood and they dry up. So he leaves from there suddenly. So he's suffering one setback after another, but yet he never loses his conviction and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to the sorrows of his beloved servant by granting him an amazing miracle. And this was the miracle of Isra wal, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls and brings Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam all the way up to the heavens in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this miracle is so amazing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran He says that because of this journey, Allah is worthy of worship and praise. Allah says, Subhanallah, that praise be to Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising Himself because of how amazing this journey is. And what an amazing miracle Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that is saying Allah is the one who is worthy of worship because of this miracle. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawla. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also praises Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding his conduct throughout the journey. And he says in Surah Najm, مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not lie regarding everything that he said. أَفَتُمَارُونَهُ عَلَى مَا يَرَى. Allah is saying that, are you going to argue and quarrel regarding what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam seen, regarding the things that occurred? And then he prays and says, مَا زَاغَ الْبَصَرُ وَمَا طَغَى, that the eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not wander or flicker, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was praising the bravery and the iman of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because he was shown many things in the journey which would have shaken any person. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam remained firm. لَقَدْ رَأَى مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِ الْكُبْرَى, that he saw the mighty signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah is saying that these signs are mighty, how mighty they must have been. Because he was so mighty, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for his firmness throughout the journey. And each and every aspect about this journey is described in vivid detail in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In Bukhari, around 20 hadith are mentioned about Isra wal Mi'raj, and a dozen or so in Sahih Muslim, and many others in other books of hadith. So this shows how important this journey was. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam undertook this journey physically, whole his body and soul. He was transported physically from this world up to the heavens. Because there are some people who object and say, how is it possible that in a few moments this can happen? But remember, who is in the control of everything? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sulaiman alayhi salam, he could travel a month's distance in a second. That was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah can do anything. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is undertaken in his journey by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the first part of the journey is called Isra. Subhanalladhi Asra. And Isra means to travel at night, the night journey. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam first go from Makkah Mukarramah all the way to Masjid al-Aqsa, to Jerusalem as the first part of the journey. And then the Mi'raj. And Mi'raj comes from the word Araja, to climb, to rise, to go up. So Mi'raj, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam rise from Masjid al-Aqsa all the way up to the heavens. So this is Isra wal Mi'raj. And Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he says that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was lying in his house at night. And Jibreel alayhi salam comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and takes him to the Kaaba, to the Hatim. The Hatim is next to the Kaaba, you see a semicircular. When you do tawaf, you go around it. It's part of the Kaaba. Then you have to do tawaf around it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is taken to the Hatim, and from there the journey begins. So first, Jibreel alayhi salam splits open the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he had brought a container full of some liquid. And some ulama, some hadith mentioned it was Zamzam. And he washed the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with this liquid. And he puts the heart back in the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he seals it up. This was another miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And why Jibreel alayhi salam removed the heart and washed it with this liquid of Zamzam, or this special liquid of Iman? So he says that to affirm the Iman and the strength in the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to make him ready for the greatest journey ever undertaken by any man. This was to prepare Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spiritually, and to make his heart and Iman stronger, so that he can undertake his journey. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that Tumma ubitu bidam. And then one animal was brought to me. And he describes and says that it was smaller than a mule, but larger than a donkey. And he says the color was white. And even says the name of the animal was called Burak. What was it called? Burak. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he describes the capabilities of this animal. And he says, يَضَعُ حَافِرَهُ عِنَّ مُنْتَهَا الْأَرْضِ, that his one step would be as far as the eye would see. Meaning that this is how fast you travel at the speed. When you stand on the very beach and you look at the sea, where the sky, it seems that the sky is beating the sea, that's how far your eye can see. And that is one step of Burak. Meaning this is how fast the speed of light that Burak would travel. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was describing the capabilities of the animals. So this journey actually happened. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is giving us vivid detail about this journey. And he said it had a muzzle and a saddle as well. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam climbed on Burak, at once it began to flap about. So Jibreel alayhi salam put his hand on Burak and says, I'm not ashamed that by Allah, there is no one more blessed in the sight of Allah who has ridden you than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because animals, any kind of a rider sits on an animal the first time, it always becomes anxious. So this was a natural reaction of the animal. But Jibreel alayhi salam, he calms the animal down and explains to him the blessedness of the rider who is going to sit on this Burak. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam rides it all the way to Baytul Maqdis, and he ties it upon the same place where every Nabi who came to Baytul Maqdis, they would tie their animal at that post, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also tied Buraq at the same post. Now, on the way, on the journey, at one point they stopped. And Jibreel salam said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have to get down and read 2 rak'ah. So Rasulullah read the 2 rak'ah. Jibreel salam explained to him that this is a blessed place, a blessed person is going to live, come and live and preach from this place. And that was Madinah Munawwar. Before it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go there and migrate, and Islam would spread. And then they stopped at another place. And again he was asked to read 2 rak'ah. And he said, this was the place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke with Musa alayhi salam. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. And then they move on, and they come to another place. And again, he is told to read 2 rak'ah. And there is 2 rak'ah. And he is told that an amazing miracle happened here. And that was the birth of Isa alayhi salam. So he reads 2 rak'ah at all these places. And they reach Baytul Maqdis, and he ties the camel in the same place where all the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, when they came to Baytul Maqdis, they tied their camel. And they reach 2 rak'ah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that I went outside the masjid. And Jibreel alayhi salam then came to me. And he had 2 containers in his hand. One container had wine, and the other container it had milk. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was asked to choose one of them. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose milk. So Jibreel alayhi salam said to him, Asabta fitrah. That you have chosen the fitrah. You have chosen something which is natural. Because number one, milk is natural. It comes from the cow and directly we drink it. But wine, it goes through a process. It loses its original form and it goes through a process and then it becomes wine. So in that way, Jibreel was saying to Rasulullah that we have chosen fitrah. And he said that if we had chosen wine, then the ummah would have gone astray. Because there is no purity in it. And Iman, Islam has purity. That's why he says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. That every child, when they are born on fitrah, on purity. And then it is the parents who make them Yahud or Nasrani or they stay as Muslims. So this is the choice that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given, and he took the choice of milk. And other hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that milk is so amazing that it serves 2 purposes. Number 1, it quenches your thirst, and number 2, it fulfills your hunger as well. There's nothing else which does both the things. It's either food or drink. But milk is such because both things are combined. It's a drink, but it's also a means of nutrition for you, and it fulfills your hunger. When you're hungry, you drink milk, and your hunger goes away. Many incidents of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where nothing to drink, and someone brings milk, and that's the only thing they drink. It quenches their thirst and fills their belly. This is the benefit of milk. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the hadith mentions, he says that, and then I stood up to pray. So now he's in Baytul Maqdis and he stands up to pray. And he says, I turn around and I see behind me there are many other prophets. Some are in sajda and some are in ruku and they are praying salah. And the hadith of Muslim is described and says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I saw the group of prophets, all of them. He says, Musa alayhi salam, he was standing and praying. And he was a lean person and he was quite muscular. He was lean and muscular, and he had the darkish color of the people of Jumu'ah. And then he says, I saw Isa alayhi salam praying. And he says that the one who resembles him the most is Urwa ibn Thaqafi radiallahu anhu, one of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he says, I saw Ibrahim alayhi salam praying. And he says, the one who resembles him the most is your companion, referring to himself. That he resembled Ibrahim alayhi salam the most. And then the hadith says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I led them all in prayer. These were not ordinary people. They were the best of people ever to come to this earth, the messengers of Allah, Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he leads all of them in salah. One hadith mentions that you are all waiting, that who will lead them in salah. Jibreel alayhi salam comes and he holds Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he takes him to the front and he says, you have the honor and you are going to be leading the Anbiya alayhi wa sallam in salah. Imam al-Anbiya wa Khatam al-Nabiyyin. That he is the Imam of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam and the seal of all prophets. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then he says, after I finish my salah, he brought an angel to me. And he says, Ya Muhammad, hada Malik. This is Malik, this is an angel. And he says that, say salam to me. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam turns around and he says salam to him. And he says salam to me before I could say anything to him. So the angel was the first one to do salam before Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said anything to him. And then Jibreel alayhi salam was asked by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that why does he not smile? How come, why is he so serious? Why he doesn't smile? So he says that since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Jahannam, this angel has never smiled. Another hadith mentions that if he were ever to smile, it would be to you, Ya Rasulullah. So this was the horrors of Jahannam, which were constantly in the mind of this angel, that he was not able to smile. Now all of this, where is happening? In Masjidul Aqsa. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam first was brought to Masjidul Aqsa. This shows the greatness and the significance of Masjidul Aqsa. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought him from Makkah Mukarramah, and first stop was Masjid Aqsa. And remember, this journey was what? To grant solace to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the first stop is Masjidul Aqsa. This shows that this is a blessed place. Ardul Mubarak, Ardul Muqaddasa. And it is a place of strength, a place of fortitude, and a place of perseverance. That hundreds of thousands of Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, they all came through this blessed land. A land of the prophets. A land where hundreds of thousands of prophets are buried. Many Sahaba are buried. A land of revelation. A land where Anbiya walked. A land of miracles. And a land where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam led Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam in salah. How much more blessed can a place be? That if we go and pray there as well, we get 500 times more reward. How many more? 500 times more reward. This is how blessed this place is. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then he is taken up to the heavens with the help of this angel, and they rise up to the heavens, and every heaven they enter, they meet one Nabi. And they ask permission, and they enter, and they are welcomed, they are greeted, and they are honored, and the Nabi makes dua for them. On the first heaven, they meet Adam alayhi salam. On the second heaven, they meet Yahya alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. On the third heaven, they meet Yusuf alayhi salam. And in the fourth heaven, they meet Idris alayhi salam, one of the very old prophets. After Adam alayhi salam and before Nuh alayhi salam was Idris alayhi salam. So he's honored to meet Idris alayhi salam. Again, same thing. He's welcomed, greeted, honored, and dua is done for him. And fifth heaven, he meets Harun alayhi salam. And then sixth heaven, he meets Musa alayhi salam. And the seventh heaven, he meets Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam takes him round and shows him the Baytul Ma'mur. What's Baytul Ma'mur? Like where we have the Kaaba in Makkah Mukarramah, we go into Tawaf and visit it. The same way, there is a Kaaba in the heavens, where 70,000 angels, they are doing Tawaf of it. And any angel who's done Tawaf of it once, they never get a chance again to do Tawaf. This is how many angels Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is shown glimpses of Jannah and glimpses of Jahannam and the punishments people are facing. And he's given amazing gifts. And he is taken in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى فَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying how close in proximity was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taken in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there he's given the gift of 50 salah. And he comes down, and Musa alayhi salam says, there's too much for your people. And he keeps going up and down, up and down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed it was going to be 5 salah. But he enjoyed this moment that the Prophet ﷺ was keep on coming to him. He let him come and -5, -5, -5, all the way till it came to 5 salah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announced that for the 5 salah you read, you will get reward of 50 salah. And this was the concern of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wanted every ummati to be from the ones who read the salah. That is why he kept on going up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask for a reduction in the salah. And he was given another gift. And it was the ending verses of Surah Baqarah. And he was also promised that any person from his nation who does not commit shirk, they will eventually be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Fatiha was also given to him. And it was mentioned that every good deed you do, you get 10 times the reward. If you have one good thought, you get 1 reward. You carry out the thought of the good intention, you get 10 times reward. You have a bad thought, as long as you don't carry it out, nothing. If you carry it out, you get 1 sin. If you have a bad thought, if you don't carry it out, you get 1 reward. These were all the gifts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he saw glimpses of Jannah. He was shown the palace of Khadija radiallahu anha. He was shown all the different streams and rivers of Jannah. And he was shown place of Jahannam as well. And those people who inflict dhulm, misuse of the tongue, dishonor others, take away the rights of the poor, who consume interest, usually riba, who deliberately miss salah, who fornicate and commit adultery, despite having spouses, those who take on debts, despite knowing that they will not be able to pay those debts. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam seen all these people in various forms of punishment because of all the sins that they used to commit. That nails was crushed into them, they were hit and they were banned, and very horrors. Many different horrors. It is all toward us, to explain to us, to make us understand that this is reality. That we may not see it. Can we see Jannah? No. Can we see Jahannam? No. But what are we doing? We are relying on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We are relying on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran. Iman bil ghaib. We cannot see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we have firm belief and conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because all the signs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, they indicate to the oneness and the power and the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this journey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam undertake. And when he comes back, it's still night. And a few moments before morning, and in the morning, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam relates this incident of Makkah. And they do not believe it. They say, how is it possible? For a normal caravan, it takes him a month to go to Jerusalem, and you are saying you have done this in one night. So now they use this moment to create a mockery, and they create a scene. And Abu Jahl wants to dishonor Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They go to Abu Bakr and they say that your friend is claiming that he went to Masjid al-Aqsa and he has returned in one night. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, by Allah, if the Prophet is saying this, then it is true. He cannot lie. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then he tells the people of everything he's seen in the journey. And they challenge him and they say to him that tell us exactly how Baytul Maqdis is. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah grants another miracle where Jibreel alayhi salam opens up a live scene of Baytul Maqdis right in front of him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is describing Baytul Maqdis in every detail. In every detail. And the people are astounded by it. And then he said there is a caravan that is going to come as well. And they've lost a camel. They will come after a few, on this day in the evening. Now, when the evening arrives, the caravan is delayed a bit. So another miracle, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expands the day. And the people begin to wonder, how come the day is even longer today? Because Allah wanted the words of Rasulullah to be true. And the caravan arrives. Even the caravan themselves, they say, we thought we will arrive at night or in the morning. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them arrive at the exact moment which Rasulullah said they will arrive. And they say exactly, so now they have all these moments of Rasulullah's testimony to believe in him, but yet they choose not to believe. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, at every statement Rasulullah describes and states about the journey, he says, Sadaqta ya Rasulullah, you have said the truth. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam then said that, oh Abu Bakr, you are as-Siddiq. You are as-Siddiq. He honored Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam honored him by giving him the title as-Siddiq. And then Jibreel alayhi salam in the following days, he teaches Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding the salah. That how the salah is meant to be performed, what we have to pray, what the timings are for a few days. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is now the gift given to them. Now we have to pray 5 times a day. First salah, second salah, third salah, fourth salah, fifth salah. So all this was taught to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by Jibreel alayhi salam. So this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed his love by calling Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam up to the heavens to grant him salah. And this salah was given, this journey was undertaken when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was facing one of the most difficult times of his life. And he was given the gift of salah to show, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. That, oh people, oh believers, have patience, be firm, have patience, and revert to salah. And revert to salah. So seek Allah's help through patience and salah. This is the gift. As-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that the salah is the mi'raj, the ascension of the believer. That's the time when we are standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was honored to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala physically in this journey. And he was given the gift of salah. This salah was given to us so we can be on this earth, on this ground, standing here. But we are standing in front of who? In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the power of salah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect Masjid al-Aqsa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who learn from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and be from those who commit ourselves to salah and pray our salah with firmness and conviction, with khushu and khudu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the strength and the Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah